Hey RJ,
hmm
what you been creeping on this week?
A whole bunch of stuff, Jarrett. Whole bunch of stuff. What do you want me to do here? Just hit
I,
it?
I suppose. I mean, what would you feel like talking about? I mean, this is like a
Well,
prelude to Ghoul School.
yeah. I'll just give you some general stuff. I can talk about the first five I watched very, very casually, and then once I hit five is when we start to get into shared territory. So, I did watch Creep. Creep is good. Creep is good. I like.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I like
that's how you
those.
started things off this month.
Well, I like to start the month off with a movie with Creep in the title. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean.
Mm.
I like the Duplass brothers. It's good. I think the best thing about Creep is the runtime. I believe it is 79 minutes long or something. It is very nice. Very nice. And then I watched a sex movie from the Italians
Yep.
called Arabella Black Angel. This was on Shutter. Was like, I don't know, dude. There's a bunch of brothels with like you go and it's always people. It's like, what's your wildest fantasy? But it's like dudes in like butt shorts and they're just like flexing with like cowboy hats, and you're just like, okay. But it was a girl who was like they claimed she was a nymphomaniac, but not really. But it was because her husband was in a car accident and now he's paralyzed. But then when she goes out, someone is like killing the people that she's like seeing. Um, and then in between there's like dudes in ass shorts with yo-yos. It was like a guy in chaps and he had like a yo-yo in both hands, and you're just like, okay, all right. It's a giallo. It's Italian. You know exactly what you're getting. You know what I mean?
What year is this one from?
Arabella. This is from '89.
Okay. All
So a lot of
right.
insatiable Italians, and then one thing I thought was really funny was the warehouse that's all men, the male prostitutes, is called Freak Boy Town, and I was like, yeah, I was like, I like the sound of that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a real Saturday post, but anyways, it's not great, but if you're in the mood for a giallo that's
Mm-hmm.
mostly softcore pornography, then Arabella's a perfect movie for you. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
This is as per RJ's own definitions.
How I would describe. I mean, if you watch this and you didn't think it was softcore pornography, I feel like there's something that says more about you than it does about me.
Right.
And then I watched the Company of Wolves. Uh,
Yeah. Some Neil Jordan.
some Neil Jordan. We had the scientist from TMNT 2, which was also the bad Cardassian. You know him, the guy, the lights Cardassian with Picard. That guy's in here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wagner.
Yeah, yeah, Robert Wagner or something. This movie's got equal parts really good stuff, and then equal parts you're kind of like, "Ugh," just kind of yawning. It's got some cool stuff like the werewolf transformations in this are very cool. It's like faces peeling off and like the wolf snouts come out of mouths. It looks really
Oh,
good.
David Warner.
David Warner. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've seen this though, right? Like the transformations. The wolf
Yes.
transformations are super cool. They're very good.
So way back when I would have watched this, like 8 years ago, I think I described it as a gorgeous movie and really
hmm
innovative, if not seamless, effects work. The
Yeah.
story within a story where characters tell one another stories is kind of odd. Like all of the animals, the
Yeah.
aristocracy luncheon scene is amazing.
Yeah.
That story about the she wolf is really well
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, it's got and that's what I mean. Some of the stuff in this movie is really really good. Some of it's kind of boring, but the transformations are so good. And then there's a lot of scenes of just like wolves running, and I was like, yeah. I was like, doggos. I like these guys.
I actually watched this in like a trilogy of wolf movies.
I remember that. Yeah.
Like I said, I watched Company of
Yeah.
Wolves, followed by Werewolf Woman, which I think is
Yeah.
awesome. That movie
Yeah.
was really quite good, and that closed out with Wolf Cop. Hey RJ, remember Wolf Cop?
I do. They made a
Remember?
sequel.
Yeah, I know. Remember when everyone was like really into Wolf Cop?
I do. I do remember that. Yeah.
Wolf Cop. I wasn't into Wolf Cop.
Yeah, I know. I think I watched the Joe Bob. Joe Bob always makes things good, except for movies he can't make good, which we'll talk about later. Um, Another really cool scene in this is they cut off a wolf head and it lands in a bowl of cream, and then as the head's turning, it turns into a person's head. And I was like, man, what a good shot. Udo Kier's in this.
Of course he is.
Yeah, there's a really funny line where it's never trust a man with one eyebrow, and they're talking about people with unibrows because they're 9 times out of 10 they're werewolves, which I thought was really funny. And then I don't want to spoil it, but Angela Lansbury gets her head karate chopped off of her body, and I was like, that's also pretty cool. So yeah, Company of Wolves I'd say is a solid 3-star affair. Like it's got lots of really stuff in there. It's got some stuff that I was kind of like, like they tie a duck to the ground, and I was like, I'm not really on board with this duck endangerment, but what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
And then I watched Torso.
Torso.
Torso, which is another insatiable Italians film. I don't know if you can tell, but like the way I pick my first 5 movies is because it's gonna be what shows up on my list always, and it's like I kind of want it to look cool, and Torso looked cool in there. Torso opens with a threesome, and then it has a dilapidated warehouse orgy where it's just like a bunch of people doing a bunch of stuff. And you're like,
Man,
all right,
you know, all sounds like this is insatiable RJ.
it's not me. It's not me.
No one's picking them for you.
It's I mean, I did a hard pivot after this.
Oh, it was hard, all right.
Get out of here. This is another. This is like a black leather glove giallo movie where it's just like you just see black leather gloves like killing people, and it's what you think. I thought Torso was okay. I was like, Torso's fine.
Yeah, Torso was just okay. The killer's mask outfit's pretty good.
Yeah, that part is cool, but there's like some stuff, like there's like a house full of girls, and like at one point the doorbell rings and it's the killer, and he's like strangling a guy, and then he like drops the body into the doorway, and the girls are like, ah, and they bury the body, and then they stay in the house. They're like, that was weird, hey? I wonder if that guy's gonna come back. And he's just like, what? He's like, you watched him kill that guy. It's like, what do you mean you wonder if he'll come back? So yeah, Torso's just okay, I think.
I'm right now as you're talking. I just put on the TV trailer for Torso to see if it's the right one. That's got the awesomest reading of Torso.
Torso. I didn't get that. I got the Italian sub or dubs. But Italians. Boy, are they insatiable, am I right? And then anyways, that was my opening, but then we got into some movies that we shared. One of which I think is an absolute slam dunk, and I think I'm probably biased, and I don't think other people will agree with me. But I watched The Convent, and I think that movie rips. I think that thing is wicked good, and I don't think other people might agree with me, but
all I want to know,
it was a lot of fun.
I think where you're completely off base with is calling this a Buffy clone. That makes no sense to me.
Okay, well,
because this is totally a Demons clone.
It is.
Yeah.
But so like the reason I called it a Buffy clone is because like when they're getting demonic, like they kind of look like how the vampires look in Buffy, where they have like big sagittal crests. They're like, rawr. And I was just like, I don't know, like
but they're all veiny and blue.
They are, but
is it because one of them's a cheerleader?
Well, that too, yeah. Like it is a Demons clone for sure, but I was just kind of like, well, this came out in 2000. Buffy was like
90s sideburns.
Yeah, Buffy was like popular at the time.
Well, Buffy was on its way out. Like, it was like season 6 or something like that. It might have been on.
So maybe not the Buffy thing, but can you agree that this is a movie like those meth kids who dance under bridges? That's what they're in.
Yeah, right? Well, again, that's the other thing I want to mention is like, what is this meth kid on overpasses like coming up with this? And I'm like, what?
You know the scenes where it's like things are happening, and then it's like out of nowhere there's like techno. It's like down, 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 down. It's like called moving really fast.
That's called the 2000s, RJ. That's how it was.
I know, but it's meth kids. That's what this thing is.
No, well, weren't they zombied up?
Yeah,
and it was like stop motioned, like artificially stop motion.
I imagine they were moving slow, and then they kind of fast forwarded it. Is how I interpret that to go.
It's like frames being missed.
Yeah, something like that. Here's the thing. I
Yeah.
think this movie has an incredible opening. I think it's really good. And then it's enough like the 90s of all the stuff that I really like. And then a mix of 2000s. I just thought this movie was a lot of fun. I got a lot of enjoyment out of it. Did you
Yeah.
enjoy watching this movie at all, or did you think it was a stinker?
Oh no, I liked it. It was
Yeah, it's fun, hey?
yeah, no, so yeah, this is a movie that I remember this was threatening to come out. And also, this movie's only 79 minutes long.
I
And
know
also,
it's
weirdly enough,
perfect.
so it's on Shudder, but it's
Yep.
also on Tubi and entirely free for people to watch. And they don't even have to have a Shudder subscription. And
Oh,
the versions look identical. Because that's the one thing. This movie looked like the print was really crappy.
it's really grainy, hey? Like intentionally grainy almost. Like they
Which
tried to
maybe is
make it look 80s.
well, or yeah, make it look Grindhouse
Yeah,
before,
yeah.
but this was 2000. This is kind of
Yeah,
before Grindhouse really was blessed by Robert Rodriguez and Tarantino. But
that's
the
what I
opening of
thought,
this
yeah.
is extremely like From Dusk Till Dawnish.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I was
Yeah.
wondering. So Mike Mendez, he just had a movie come out this year or very recently called Satanic Hispanics.
Ooh,
This
that
has
sounds fun.
got well, it's got Eduardo Sanchez, who you might
Oh
recall is
yeah,
the
yeah.
co-creator of Blair Witch,
Exists?
but
No, like
also the one mind responsible for exists. You
which is a
also have
good show.
Alejandro Bruish,
Oh yeah.
who did some stuff. Puka Lives, some anthology business, and
Hmm.
Juan of the Dead.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Juan. Oh, you know who's also in there is the director of Terrified.
Oh,
Yeah.
like
So that's
the Chilean Terrifier or the
yes,
Argentinian? Yeah, yeah.
yes,
Did you ever watch that? You did, right?
yes, yeah.
Yeah. Opening
You
20 minutes of that movie's
pretty
really
good.
good. Really
Yeah,
good.
it's not too bad. It's
Yeah.
uneven as in terms of the best.
Yes.
Welcome to anthologies, RJ. But hey, that's
I'm
Satanic.
aware.
So I think Satanic Hispanics was
Hispanics.
talked about. Whatever happened to that Shockwaves podcasts, the All the Colors of the Dark. I think they did
Mm,
one recently on this, like this year, anyway.
yeah.
So that's the second time I've heard of
Mike Mendez.
Mike Mendes popping up. But I was really curious because I was like, okay, who the hell is in this movie? Because all these people seem familiar
In the
in
convent
ways.
or
Yeah, but because like
well, the
obviously
Bora
Adrienne Barbeau is
Barbeau
like the
or
one
Adrian
that like
Barbeau.
well she's like the she plays the role of like the machete.
Yeah.
This might be
She's like the
the
Sarah Connor kind of.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that type. But yeah, she's a Sarah Connor in this, where uh, her young self massacres a church filled with
Hmm.
nuns and the priest.
Priest.
Um, yeah, taking him to task with gunfire, and then burns it all down.
Hmm.
Then
It's
at
a
time
cool
jump.
intro too, eh?
Yeah, I mean
Yeah. The
it's
song is nice.
it's fine. I don't know if I
Yeah.
was like in it at this point, and then it transitions into your god damn it, what's that called? Not Final Destination, The Faculty.
Yep.
There's a lot of like 90s-ness going on. Again, Robert Rodriguez
Hmm.
felt very uh, inspiring in this film,
Hmm.
which is okay. And then who is the editor on this? Oh, curious. I was like, oh, who's the editor? For some reason I was like John Rosenberg. I wonder what else he's done. I'm like, well, he worked on Prancer, and he also edited Poison Ivy: The New Seduction. Came
Oh.
out 3 years earlier.
Oh, good.
Speaking of softcore,
Uh
anyway,
huh.
but yeah, other than that, like a lot of the actors, they kind of just were
They all look
floaters.
like
Well,
people you've seen
yeah,
before, but when you look into it, you're like,
Bill
oh no.
Moseley, who's in this for like about 2 minutes,
Yeah.
probably one of the biggest stars in this as well.
Oh
But
well, don't
you
forget
also get
Coolio.
Coolio putting in some work as a police officer.
Yeah, yeah, he's putting work in all right. He is
Yeah,
trying his absolute best.
no.
Is all I can say. He's trying his absolute best.
So yeah, you
But
have like the lead girl, Joanna Canton playing uh, Clarissa,
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 Clarissa, yeah.
and you have the best friend girl.
Mo, the
That's
goth
Mo.
girl. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Meg Ann Perry,
Hmm.
Megahn Perry.
Hey, what do you think? What did you think of Frijoles? The
Oh, Richard Trapp.
yeah,
I kept
Dick
thinking
Trap.
like I've been thinking like yeah, there's two Richard Trapps. There was like a
Yeah.
football player too, but
Yeah.
this was the younger who was also in Cradle to the Grave.
Oh yes.
But that's about it. Oh, I also see that he shows up as Gator in a movie called Midgets versus Mascots.
Corpse has probably seen that.
Likely, likely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the convent is yeah. So a bunch of kids are getting together to hang out, and they're going to go break into the
The
old
convent.
convent and do high school kid things in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
The one girl's concerned about her younger brother who's a pledge for the
Yeah.
fraternity, and an old friend of hers shows up out of the blue who's still stuck to the goth lifestyle,
Oh yeah.
and is really disappointed her friend has kind of abandoned her and becoming a prep.
Mm-hmm.
So she takes along, and they drive by the old house where the old story goes that where Adrienne Barbeau's character Christine lives. That she was
Mm-hmm.
crazy and she killed a bunch of nuns and whatnot. And there's like a little mystery like that the nuns made her have an abortion, and you
Mm-hmm.
go, whoa, that's dark. And
Mm-hmm.
so they show up to the place. They're wandering around a bunch. They wind up having to go back because the one girl's afraid of getting stopped by the cops. They get hassled by the cops. The cops let them go anyway. They're made to leave, but then they have to double back to go get her after some
Mm-hmm.
debate. But while the goth girl's left behind, she gets caught
She
up with some
runs afoul of
runs
some
afoul of some
Satanists.
Satanists
Uh-huh.
who like I thought was like so the guy who plays like was it Saul? It's this
Oh
guy named
yeah.
David Gunn, who
Yeah.
like I was like that is one fake ass beard he's
Well,
wearing.
what I said to Andrea, like she watched this with me last night, and I was just like, I think they're trying to do like a Gary Oldman Dracula kind
Oh
of thing with
God,
this guy.
he absolutely is going for the Gary
Yeah.
Oldman Dracula look.
And
Yeah,
I thought that guy was really like how he played. He's like, oh, he's a prince of evil.
and then
Oh.
and then you have Kelly Mantle playing Dickie Boy,
Yeah,
the
also good.
sidekick. Yes, and they were also these like these two blonde women that like who want to name one was named Sapphire, and they want to be Satanists
Saphira.
too. Saphira.
And he says it with such emphasis. He goes, Saphira. Yeah, it might be Sapphire, but
I know
he
you're right.
says
It
it
is
fun.
Saphira. And then
Yeah.
anyway, so they sacrifice our poor goth girl,
Mm-hmm.
and she turns into a demon.
Mm-hmm.
She murderizes the blondes, and then of course, once you're dead, you turn into a possessed demon person,
Mm-hmm.
and you start wreaking havoc. Is run everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah, they basically everyone dies except
Yeah,
for
like two
the
people.
Clarissa,
Yeah.
and she has to go. Her brother's left alive, and she has to go back and save him. She's kind of screwed, but that way, she even tries to get Coolio's help at the donut place that always shows up in these
He
movies in
shoots
Los
at her.
Angeles. And he just starts shooting at her. Be gone, evil! And then she winds up at Christine's house. You find it. Then it turns out it's Adrienne Barbeau,
Mm-hmm.
who's like as you described aptly, I think the Sarah Connor. And
Mm-hmm.
they go and it turns into it's like from dusk till dawn, like
Yeah.
super crazy violence. But the best part of this movie is actually during this scene where we get the Adrienne Barbeau flashback
Oh,
to the
it's
to the
so good.
Catholic school, where
It's
basically what
so
happened
good.
was so it's like when we saw the flashback, all the nuns and stuff like that were normal looking, but in fact, what was
They were
the
all
nuns had all been
demonized.
they'd already been demonized, and so there's this awesome bit where like the demon nuns are just like walking around the high school like during the middle of the day, and everyone's
Yeah.
like, oh, but there's like these demons are just blue, if like veiny
And
veins
like
and
white eyes.
sharp teeth, and like yeah, white eyes, yellow eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, of course, being really mean nuns now because they're like demon possessed.
Mm-hmm.
So that stuff was that was like really funny. That was
Yeah.
like I was like, man, that's way cooler than I was expecting to be.
Yeah.
So that bit completely won me over on this movie. Up
Yeah.
to this point, I was kind of like, I don't know. There was like CGI panties floating in the air.
Yes, there was.
That was like, oh boy.
Yeah, that's
But
I know where I knew all that, but that nun bit, the one thing that was really really funny was when Adrienne Barbeau was talking about it, she's like we could tell something was off, and
yeah,
then it shows the nuns walking in with the blue faces, and you're just like
and everyone has
You're
to
like, okay.
be like, "Oh, this is normal." But yeah,
There,
that was very good.
yeah, very,
And
very
then
good.
the whole ending is like mayhem, people blowing up,
Yeah.
and hey, like almost
Exploding.
entirely, and it's like all practical effects. It's lots
Yeah,
of
yeah.
like goop and splatter, and
Mm-hmm.
we get Dicky Boy turn into a cool looking demon that you barely get to see.
Mm-hmm.
Order is restored,
Or is it?
or is it? As spoiled by the fucking banner
The
of the
banner,
movie.
yeah. Yeah, I saw that after when I was logging and I was like, hey, that's fucking ending of the movie.
That's the second last frame.
You
Silly. Anyways,
punks.
but yeah, Convent. Not like definitely better. Because if you, I don't know if you looked up Convent DVD when it because it like
Mm-mm.
got picked up at the time by a studio that like kind of wound up like floundering or like losing money or going out of business, and so it had
Mm-hmm.
like a really shitty release. And the DVD cover they came out with sucks. It made it look like Underworld because I remember
Oh,
seeing this at
that's
like
not good.
I'll send it to you. I remember seeing this at Future Shop and being like, "Oh, that doesn't
Yeah.
look good at all.
See, I like the
It,
poster
it
right
looks
now
super
with the
generic."
I like the poster now with badass chick smoking a dart. Like that was one of the reasons I want to watch this. I saw Convent, I saw Nuns, and I was smoking a dart, and I was like, oh yeah,
See the one I
oh
just
yeah,
sent you?
yeah.
It's the same image,
Yeah,
but I
I've
was just,
I remember seeing that in the video stores, but I was never
prayer
interested in
will
it.
you get you nowhere.
Yeah, that's too bad. I would have ate this up in my video renting days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Like I really liked it and I was like I know not everyone meant with me, but I was like this is exactly the kind of movie I wanted to kick the month off with. I was like, yeah, this is good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff.
Took some
Yeah.
digging, but you got there.
I got there. Well, I saw this movie last year. Like I saw it on Shutter and I was like nuns, cigarettes. I was like this sounds awesome. But I didn't fit it in last year. So I'm glad I got it. It was a good one.
Huzzah!
And it's on Tubi, is what Jarrett says. So
That's what I
no
allege.
no reason not to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I watched a couple more movies, but they're movies that you also watched.
Well, I
So
mean, you just keep going. It's fine.
well, I mean, you could talk about some of the stuff you watched too.
Well,
You want?
the opener
Mm-hmm.
for my Creeptober, Kim and I watched, which I think for about 15 minutes was much to her chagrin, because I think it was the first shot on video that I've watched with her, and
Oh,
I didn't
video
really,
violence?
I haven't, she has not seen Video Violence,
Ah,
but she has seen Heavy Metal Massacre.
that sounds cool. Does it live up to the title?
No, but
Ah,
or does
shoot.
it? So this is definitely one of the more incompetently made movies I've seen that fall into this. And it's not just be like, limitations. It's like, oh no, there's some real bad stuff in here. Like just this panning around a bedroom over and over and over again, listlessly. But then
Mm,
they put like a weird video filter over it, just like a moment, and then it would go to a different video filter. Like they were kind of going through all the settings of video filters and trying them out
mm-hmm.
over this bedroom. And it's probably our boy, our lead actor, who's credited as Bobby Young, but is in
Bobby
fact
Boucher.
not Bobby Boucher, but
Oh.
is in fact a guy named David DeFalco, who I saw
Mm,
this name and I was like, that sounds familiar. And I looked up him and it's like, oh, he's described as a former pro wrestler. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I know who this fucking guy is. So on Facebook years ago with Code Red, so this is some real Sam Sanchez action here. But
mm-hmm.
there's the DVD company Code Red. Well, along came David DeFalco, who was talking to like one of the Olsen brothers that ran Code Red, and they opened up this like Dark Force Entertainment, and they were like the sort of like the secondary line of Code Red that these guys were going to put out movies this way. And this guy is just like a total meathead. I have no idea what he's doing these days. He had some weird like public like breakdowns on Facebook, weird
Mm.
videos,
Oh.
and it's like it's like it was such a early days is Heavy Metal Massacre, which is available on YouTube.
Oh, interesting.
Uh, this is about a guy. He's
Mm-hmm.
a killer, but he's like a me- hair metal guy, and
Mm-hmm.
he just keeps killing these women. He takes them down to his. He can't act for shit, like nothing. He brings them down to his dungeon pad. Well, first he's got his main floor apartment that we've seen many times at this rate, and him posing against walls, staring at the camera, like
Mm-hmm.
very like come hither looking at you, and you go, no thanks, I'm good. But these ladies, he keeps offering, hey, I got some coke. You want to snort some coke? And they go,
Oh.
oh, okay. So they get brought to his place, and they sometimes get drugged. Sometimes they follow him down into his murder basement, where he's got like a big pallet, like a wood pallet
Mm.
that he sometimes chains them to, and then hacks them to pieces with a chainsaw or strangles
Interesting.
them, that kind of thing. Or the one scene that definitely reminded me of Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me or something like that was him tying this one woman to a chair, putting a blanket over her, and in slow motion, he takes a sledgehammer and just lets this shape that's under the blanket have it. And it's like very
Mm.
pinky. And I was just like, huh. It's like odd, very odd scene. It's definitely the best like filmmaking in the entire 83-minute runtime. But this movie just
83. So this is
83. This is longer than the convent.
oh boy.
Um, but it is yeah, some music because
Mm.
it's about a metal guy, so there's lots of music that they think makes it look cool. You would kind of hope that they would have had better lighting involved with the making of the movie because there are scenes where you can't see anything. You can't see anything at all. You can't hear the dialogue. Yeah, but
So was
at the end
your
of the
kid have an
day,
easy time following it?
but by the end, it was like it held her attention as it held mine. The ending is abrupt, comes out of nowhere,
Mm.
um, and I don't know. It, despite itself, it's fairly successful at being this kind of piece of shit, but it's not too bad. Because the problem is that the next day, we watched another movie. This was a Kim pick, randomly
Uh-oh.
off of Amazon Prime.
Uh-oh.
It's an intriguing premise, and you don't know until you watch it. And that was
Okay.
The Dark from
The Dark
2018.
The?
The Dark, the
Okay. How is that?
uh,
I've never seen this film, but I don't assume it's
no,
5 stars.
no, it's not. I'm not familiar with Justin Lang's work, but I don't know. This title has nothing to do with anything in the movie
It's not
at all.
dark.
Not really. I mean, the subject matter, I guess, is because it's
Okay.
all everyone's getting molested in it. But
Oh God.
yeah, but you okay? If you look at the banner of this on Letterbox, it looks like it's this like Anakin Skywalker and some zombie girl are in a cave. That
Okay.
that seemed accurate. But then you notice, hey,
Sure.
that one kid doesn't have any eyes, and so yeah, this movie opens up with a weird old German sounding man named Josef. He seems in
Mm.
a panic. He stops by a gas station. He's confronted by an annoying man who works there, asking a lot of weird questions rudely in a way that no one ever would. But maybe Justin Lang is a fan of like No Country for Old Men. He's like, I'm gonna have a gas station scene. It's gonna be so fucking lit.
Mm.
Anyways, they find out this guy's wanted by the police. The guy knows that he's been outed by this. He'd be outed by this guy at the gas station, and the guy gets shoots him dead. He gets into the car. You know, there's like something in the back seat under a blanket. You can probably assume it's like a person. And the guy's looking for a place called Devil's Den out in the
Oh.
woods. He pulls up to a house, and it's all decayed and broken down. And he's walking around inside for a bit, and he goes like to have a nap. Like real like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to keep looking around. I'm just going to have a nap. And he hears something across the way in the hallway. He goes and looks. He's like, "Hey, there's like a hole. I better like look really closely at this hole." And
Mm-hmm.
whack comes an axe through the wall. And then suddenly he's being confronted and chased around by this like child in a hoodie that you can't really
Okay.
see the face of, and she's coming to get him. She's coming to get him,
Should we go and
and
get him?
she gets him. He's dead. He's
Oh
gone.
shit.
And the girl starts like looking around the rest of the car that was left behind, but not before she imbibes in a little bit of cannibalism,
Okay.
or she's some sort of zombie. It's never
Oh.
really explained what's going on, but she's eating the flesh of this man.
She enjoy it?
I don't know. It's food's food, I guess. Because she
Okay.
tries to eat some breakfast cereal and she can't
Mm-hmm.
keep it down. It's disgusting to her. Then she finds out there's this kid in the back seat, and she of course pulls the blanket off, and you're like, oh, I guess this guy had this kid who's like he apparently is like burnt the eyelids off of or like is fucked this kid up, and the kid's terrified. He wants to only be with this Yosef guy who he doesn't really know he's dead, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
so this kid some Stockholm syndrome going on, and now these two kids are in a situation with like zombie girl and abused kid, and a sheriff deputy comes by. Oh, gee, shucks! I think I found the car. And
Oh.
then he runs afoul of the zombie girl. Zombie girl tears his eyes up, kills him. And now, of course, the police now know where they're at, and now they're on the run. They're running through the woods.
Naturally.
And then you get some flashbacks to the girl and find out like how did she wind up a zombie or something. And turns out her mom made a lot of bad life decisions, like maybe after her husband died, and now she's with some like younger guy. But younger guy's a real scumbag who apparently after mom gets real drunk, he comes and visits her in her bedroom. And of course, when she's had enough and tries to defend herself, this guy rages out, crushes her head in with a snow globe, buries her out in the woods, but she comes back like a spirit of vengeance
Mm.
or something. It's very vague, and you never actually see her get her vengeance on the guy. It's just like it's between the panels, but she makes sure to kill. We see her kill her mom, I guess, for letting it happen to her.
Mm.
And then everything is sort of like, oh, they run into some guys looking for them in the woods because they don't know what's going on. They are taken care of. We get some like weird, this like thing that independent movies do, because I think it's like trying to add some scale to the movie, which is like vehicular violence, even
Mm.
when it makes no sense or it's just super cliched. People getting hit by cars, trucks flipping over completely onto their roof from braking suddenly.
Is that
So
bad though?
I don't know. It's just kind of like, oh, that makes zero sense, and just makes you aware of how that doesn't make any sense.
Hmm.
Some other characters die. It's like this, like they break into this like older woman's house, and they're in the kitchen looking for food, and then she comes out gleefully with a shotgun, going, "I can shoot you dead," and you're like, man, I'm really not caring what happens to her. And then she
Mm.
gets stabbed, and now she's dead. And you're like, oh well.
And you didn't care?
And I didn't care. And you're like, oh
Oh
well.
wow.
And then they keep. So anyway,
Seems cold, but okay.
seeing them,
Hmm.
seeing them.
So that's a hard recommend, you're saying?
No, this is like one of those like buried on Amazon Prime, and probably
Oh.
just deserves to be there. I mean, there's some politeness, but the movie just ends in this way where you're like, oh, that's it. And
Yeah.
yeah,
They can't all be the convent. You know this.
that is true.
Yeah. For every convent, there's 10 movies that aren't, which
Yeah.
is unfortunate, but
And then I've got a few shorts I'll mention.
okay.
So I I just again what I do every year is I type in horror film into YouTube, watch like the
Yes.
first thing that pops up, and this year it was something called Disguise from 2023.
Oh.
Not much to say about this. It's kind of sucked. It's about doppelgangers and scarecrows. That sounds cool,
Hmm.
but it's not. But
It's
this
not.
Tyler Chazowski fellow
Mm-hmm.
also directed a few years ago a short film called Box Fort.
Okay.
And
Sounds
it's
cool.
very creepy pasta-y.
Oh.
You know, but it's like okay. There's a dog in it, and it's about three sisters who are like, "Hey, remember when we were young and we'd build box forts?" Because
I
apparently their
do remember
parents are
that.
away, and so they build like a gigantic, elaborate house-wide box fort, and they start crawling around in it. And the fun is
Mm.
had. The dog's having a blast, et cetera, et cetera. But
Mm-hmm.
then one night, the dog stays in the tunnels and doesn't come out. And now they're like looking for the dog. Um,
Is
and
anything
then
bad happen to the dog?
have to watch to find out for yourself. But anyways, it's like a cool idea, like doing something with nothing. Like it's literally a movie about cardboard boxes. I mean, it might make you go, why don't they just flatten the cardboard boxes? Or man, they're really they don't really want to part with that box for it, huh?
Mm.
But
Why doesn't the bigger one simply eat the smaller one? Is
that's
that the
right.
kind of stuff you say?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, interesting.
No. But anyway,
So check it out,
isn't.
hey?
I thought this would be the one worth checking out.
Okay. I
Actually,
won't, but
I need to add this to tunnel horror or Cora horror.
what about hole horror?
It's like suggestion of a
Horror.
hole, but it's more like corridors.
Have you seen any hole-based films yet this year?
Not yet. So you raise a very good point here.
Well, I
There's a
mean,
lack of hole in my viewing diet.
you've kind of created a reputation of being the whole man.
The whole daddy.
Yeah, the whole dog. So,
Um,
whole daddy's not how I would describe it, but I'm sure someone will have fun with that.
hey, so remember we were talking about that my home walkthrough?
Yeah, I just looked. It's not fucking on here.
My home walkthrough. So Piero Pito, the mysterious filmmaker of that, also made a short called Username 666 back in 2008 in the early days of YouTube.
Hmm.
And it's like some urban myth uh, fun. It's okay. It doesn't really
Just
go
okay.
anywhere, but it's pretty cool. I mean, it'll make you think back to what your browser looked like in 2008.
Yeah. My browser in 2008,
Yeah. It's
nothing
only
but.
it's only 4 minutes long.
Okay. I could check it out potentially.
Then I watched this one called Serbian Dancing Lady.
Was it good?
No, it fucking sucked.
Oh,
It sucked so bad.
oh good.
The like man, it's just like, hey, let's like not even try to make this exciting as this girl runs away from this other like woman with a knife. Let's just shoot it in the most like unexciting way.
Mm.
Yeah, that's remarkable, I suppose, and how bad it is. Because these are like, the disguise, which I didn't care for much. Um, at least it was trying. Serbian dancing lady, though, come on.
Mm.
It seems like this was some sort of thing, and I don't know. It's trying to be a meme. It's sad. It's really
You,
sad.
you kind of remind me of a Serbian dancing woman
Yeah, but
in a
one
lot of ways.
really good short I watched was one called Curve from
Curve.
2016 by a
Can I
guy
check it
named
out?
Tim Egan. It's like 10 minutes long. Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's simple. It's to the point, but man, it's grim. And it looks fantastic. Looks like a Ridley Scott film.
Ooh,
Yeah.
like Prometheus?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. I know you're a big Prometheus. What about Alien Covenant? Like that one too?
Ooh. I don't even know if I've seen that one.
Oh, well, yeah. It's you could add
I
it to Creeptober.
I don't know.
I mean, you could. You don't have to.
But yeah, that was I should say I think that was all was that day one.
Yeah, you
And that's not even all the movies I watched because we'll
I
talk about
know.
one here.
Yeah, you watch a lot of movies, friend.
Hey, when I want to,
Yeah,
when
I
I got
know.
an inkling, I can hammer them out.
Oh dear.
So
What were we
RJ,
talking about? Yeah.
well that brings us to another movie that we both seen,
Which one?
more or less, where you were introduced to a character named Havoc, not to be
Oh God.
confused with Scott Summers' brother Alex, but Havoc, everyone's favorite knockoff Jason Voorhees.
I mean, there was a lot of things I was introduced to in this film. Havoc, um, Mr. Robert Bronzy, who I was under the impression that you had seen some Bronzys, but
No,
apparently
we
that's
have
not the
talked about
case.
Robert Bronzy, but I've never seen a Robert Bronzy film until this week,
And now we both have.
and now we both have.
Some would describe this movie as Martyrs esque, which I should
Some
update my take.
some might say that.
Some might say that. Do you want me to hit you with the rundown?
Sure. And I'm going to say that I have seen all four Havoc films.
But not the Robert Bronzy Havoc film?
Well, I have seen that one.
Oh.
I've seen them all, RJ. But I watched the third one right before I watched Cry Havoc, which is the fourth film.
Mm-hmm.
That really like ties the Havoc verse together, I think.
Interesting. Well, I've only seen Cry Havoc,
And
so
you know what? I have seen all of them, and you're fine.
that's kind of what I. Can I tell you? I didn't know that this was a series until about 2 minutes ago when you just said that. I thought this was a standalone film.
But
I had no idea this
yeah,
was a series of.
I just don't. I think you just don't remember.
I mean, I'm sure you told me about it. That's like this was in my list for a reason. But when I watched this, I assumed it was a standalone movie.
Yeah, it's like watching Leprechaun in space.
Sure,
Just
you
cause.
assume it's just whatever it is. So the Havoc, Cry Havoc opens. It's cold open. A girl is finds her. She wakes up in the woods and she finds her
A
hand
CGI
is
Woods.
CGI woods, and her hand is tied to a designer chain. I would describe it as. It's not a real chain. It's not a store bought chain. This is a designer chain. It's got a lot of sparkle. It's got a lot of shine. And there's about 30 feet between her and whatever the chain is tied to. So she tries to pull the chain, doesn't move, and she goes and sees, and there's a really large man in some weird clothing attached to the other end of the chain, but he's sleeping. He's having a little nap. But she finds that he's got some keys in his hand, and she says, "Oh man, maybe that's the keys to this lock to this chain." So she takes him and tries to open him up. But man wakes up, and boy is he angry. He's got kind of like a doll face mask with some barbed wire and some overalls. He's wearing some Carhartt gear. He's maybe a welder part time or something. I'm not
Yep.
sure. And he's got a real jaggedy look blade, kind of like what you'd expect in a PlayStation game, kind of thing.
Or something that a orc from Warhammer 40K would have.
Yes,
It
yes,
looks
exactly.
exactly like that.
Yeah, so he's got this blade, right? And girlfriend's trying to uncuff her handcuffs, and then they get wrapped up in a tree, and he rips the tree out of the roots, which I think is an important plot detail to bring up because later he can't open a trunk, and you go,
Hmm.
how strong is Havoc? I wonder. Uh, so he does get her, and then he opens her shirt, and then he shudders at her breasts.
Yeah.
So he's afraid of her breasts at one
Yes,
point,
he
and
is. I forgot about
you
that.
go,
He
okay.
he's never. I don't think he's ever cared about breasts until this movie.
Well, he was afraid of them. Is
Yeah.
the
He went,
the impression
oh,
I got.
he was like RJ watching some of the movies he watches where he goes, oh no, oh no.
Only the Italian ones. Only the Italian. So he's gonna go cut them off, and then he kind of gets distracted. There's like a military guy there who makes a mistake, so he goes after the military guy. Girlfriend handcuffs herself, and then she runs away. And then you see kind of killing people or something like that.
Right.
And then you kind of hard cut, Cry Havoc. And you're introduced to our female protagonist, other than the one we just saw. It's a blonde lady. She's meeting someone in a bar, and she's walking in. She looks nervous, and then across the street, you see a man smoking a pipe, Jarrett. And that man looks quite a bit
like Charles Bronson.
like Charles Bronson, but you can tell. You say, this guy looks Hungarian. I don't know if that's if that's entirely Charles Bronson-y. So you see a Hungarian man named Robert Bronzy, and he looks astonishingly very similar to Charles Bronson. However, a keen expert can pick out the differences.
Well, I don't think he's as tall. I think Robert Bronson seems fairly tall.
Yeah, there are some differences, but he does look a lot like Bronson. So he's smoking a pipe. He sees this blonde lady. An old lady comes and is like, "Let's go," and she gets driven out somewhere. And then,
Listen, honey.
listen,
If you
honey.
if you want to do this interview, you're going to have to follow these rules. And that's literally the first 20 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, and then there's a moment where she says, "Take her electronics," and I was like, "What?" He's like, "Claim her electronics." I was like, "What?"
Yeah. So so what's happening is our protagonist woman, she is a journalist from like middle of nowhere, but she has got the scoop on the one of the FBI's most wanted. This I don't know, eccentric millionaire billionaire type who is become known. It's like this idea is that he's like a jigsaw,
Yes.
who is behind making like snuff films for
He wouldn't
pleasure,
like
for
to
his
get
own
used.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Oh, he wouldn't like it if you use that word. It's an insult to my craft.
Yeah. I
Anyway,
forgot to mention in the cold open when the military guy is like fighting it with our Jason Havoc. It cuts to the eccentric billionaire, and he's like, "Lions got to hunt."
the asset. They
Or
always call. They always refer to the
the
asset.
asset. The asset, and he's like, "Lions got to hunt," and you're just like, "All right, whatever." So
Yeah.
yeah,
So rich guy has
he's got a Jason.
he's got a Jason that he
Yeah.
found. This movie actually does explain because that had never been explained in the previous movies of a time he was in
Where
jail and
he
he
came
saw this.
from.
He met Havoc in a jail cell. He's like, I have to have him. So I made the right types of bribes, and now I've got my little retreat here out in the mountains, and where I bring aspiring young actresses who have daddy issues here,
Mm-hmm.
and then they get filmed being chased around and killed, but sometimes only partially killed, and sometimes we even bring them back to like semi-filled life so they can continue the great dance.
Yeah, exactly. And the reporter's there. She's like, "This scoop's gonna make my career," and he's explaining. He's like, "Yeah, I got vulnerable women with no dads or boyfriends." And he's like, "Tell me about your dad or boyfriend." She's like, "I don't have any." He's like, "Oh, cool,
I Yeah, I
cool."
also have estrangement issues with my father. And you're like, oh, she's not figuring out what's being laid
Yeah.
down here, huh?
And the guy's like, "Oh, that's cool. Yeah, yeah, no problem." So, anyways, like, what do you do? What else do you do
Well, and this whole time, there's all these scenes of Robert Bronzy
in the woods?
lurking about, like with it's like binoculars looking on, and he sees all
Uh-huh.
these military guys who are, making sure the asset doesn't leave the
Yeah.
reserve. And he's like, and you keep like, I kept thinking, like, is he ever going to talk? Because are they really trying to like convince us this is like Charles Bronson, but he's never going to speak? And I was
Oh, he
proven,
talks.
no, he talks. Well, he mouths words, and then somebody in a recording studio talks over him, doing a real half-assed Charles Bronson impersonation.
He sounds like this. He says, "Have you seen this woman?
He's no.
Have you seen her?"
I mean, I think they should have gotten Hank Azaria to do it.
He would have done an incredible job. Hank
I think
Azaria is
I
wicked.
think Hank Azaria might be outside of the budgetary concerns of
Yes,
Cry Havoc, and the great director of Rene Perez, who I'm not sure if you've looked at his oeuvre.
I have not.
They have a lot of the same that like that color scheme that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Hills Have Eyes movie posters had back
Mm,
in the mid 2000s. They all look like that. But his
really?
highest, most popular rated film is a little movie called Death Kiss, starring
Sounds.
Robert Bronzy.
Oh, of course.
And the
Add
tagline
it
of
to
the
next
film,
year,
RJ, Justice has a familiar face.
and it's Robert Bronzy.
Yeah, this isn't a horror movie, RJ. You can watch this anytime.
Uh, okay. I see the poster now. I see what we're
Yeah,
doing.
yeah, you
I
got
see
it.
what we're doing. What about From Hell to the Wild West? Also with Robert Bronzy.
The Dead and the Damned with
I mean,
Danny Trejo.
I'll watch one of these a year. No problem.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll add this Bronzy to my pick next year. Yeah, Danny Trejo's in a bunch. Yeah,
Yeah.
Robert Bronzy. Okay. So, anyways, yeah, all that happens next is blonde girl. She's the next person in the snuff
Yeah.
films,
So she's got to run away a whole
and
bunch.
then you find out Robert Bronzy's just looking for his estranged daughter.
That's right, because his daughter is there as a result of his being a bad dad.
Yes.
But he's a cop.
Yeah.
And now he's one of like he has no real interest in saving anybody else, but to find his daughter, who it turns out
Was
is
the
the girl
cold
from the
open girl.
beginning of the movie, who is
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
alive.
I do like where Robert Bronzy very clearly doesn't care about anyone else, where he comes upon a woman who's tied to like a stake, and she's like, "Please help me." He's like, "Have you seen this woman?" And she's like, "Please just let me out." And he's like, "Listen, the girl, have you seen her?" And she's like, "Please, for the love of God, kill me." And he's like, "Listen,
And she's got some
hon."
like bunny helmet on.
Yeah, he's like, "Honey, listen, we don't got time for that. Just tell me, have you seen this girl?" He's also an expert sharpshooter.
Oh yeah,
He's got a
so
6-piece and
there's
he
like
knows how to use it.
yeah, there's about a third of this movie is him just like trading
Reloading.
shots with like the military guys, and I
Hmm.
think one time he does blow off a guy's head, and
Oh,
that's
he
like
does. Yeah, he
and
does.
that's I think that's the coolest thing he does all like in this entire movie
Yep.
until because you're like
Until
you keep thinking when are we going to get Bronson versus Jason? When are we
oh,
going
we
to
get it.
when we get there with some tank top action?
I think
Um,
the lead up to it is the best thing ever, where he takes off his coat and he's got a tank top and he kind of like flux out or flexes out his arms. He's just like,
yeah,
ugh.
yeah,
And then he's walking and he's got his little badge, his shield on like a necklace, and he rips it off to show that he's not a cop anymore. He'll do whatever it takes, which is like you've
right.
been doing that the whole time, Bronzy. Yeah, and then they have a fist fight.
Yeah, they brawl, and then they kind of disappear behind a hill, and
Hmm.
only one of them rises victorious,
Which one?
and it's not Bronzy.
Oh no.
And then the movie kind of just like,
Well, he does save his daughter, and then he's like, "You gotta get out of here. I'm gonna keep fist fighting this literal monster."
yeah,
And so she runs away, and then yeah, he fights her, and then it cuts to the billionaire
fights.
guy again, and he's just
Yeah,
like, he said something really dumb. It's just like, all things in life have other things, and then it's like hard black, and you're just like, what?
yeah.
You go, huh?
Welcome to the Havoc universe. The third movie, which is Bronzy Free. This is
Hmm.
a movie where what happens when Havoc gets off the reserve
I
and
see.
he just stumbles across a cabin where like a rich guy is having an affair on his wife, and his wife happens to show up at the cabin, and she discovers this affair occurring, and then they all get killed one by one by, including the help. They all get killed
Yep.
by not Jason,
Not Jason.
and that's the movie.
Sure.
And then he gets retrieved at the end.
I think I'm
And
happy with the decisions I made.
And the first two playing with dolls movies,
Yeah.
same thing. It's like all like low tier Saw knockoffs, but
Yeah.
with a not
Jason.
Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep.
Interesting.
That's
Cool.
the series.
I'm sure glad I watched it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
I'll watch a Bronzy movie once a year. No problem.
you
No
know,
problem.
a Bronzy fan for life.
We're doing it, man.
Yeah.
Anyways, there was two other movies we shared. Should we talk about them? Should we save them? What do you think?
Well, let's talk about Care Package.
Okay, before we do, I have to have a care package of my own. Give me 38 seconds and I'll be right back.
Well, I might as well just take your break now. Okay, I'm just gonna leave. Indeed.
Hmm.
So RJ, I mean, the question really is Scare Package the total package?
It's something. All right.
It's some package.
It's something, all right. I can't really say more than it is. It's some kind of package. What's in that box? Is it diarrhea?
You
I
might
don't
want
know.
to
I
send
think so.
you might want to send it back.
You might want to send it back. Now, here's what I'll say. This is an
What?
anthology film. I liked two of these shorts.
I'm curious which two you liked, because I only liked one.
I
And
liked
there is
two of them.
this is made up of 8.
This has many, many. So I watched the Joe Bob. Did you also watch the Joe Bob?
No.
Okay. Well, here's what I'll say about Scare Package. In the Joe Bob, uh, he liked two of these as well. One that I liked, one other one, but most of them, and like actual Joe Bob quotes it finished, and he went, "I didn't get that," or "I don't get that," and then another one he went, "I don't get that one either." So like even Joe Bob was just like, "I don't really know what I'm trying to do."
When you watch this, not knowing this has anything to do with a Joe Bob drive-in or whatever, you go in being like, whatever this is, it's a Shudder exclusive, which
Yes.
is soon turning into amounting to be not good.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is why it was on last drive-in. Like I think it was part of the contract. It's like you're gonna throw some Shutter exclusives in there, and he's like, "All right." But some Shutter exclusives are incredible, like Deadstream, and some of the VHSs are very well done. So you do get Scare Package. There's 8 Shorts. The shorts I liked. I liked the Goo Man.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, Goo
Goo
Man's
Man is
the
good.
yeah.
And I did like the Jason one. Where, they kidnapped the Jason and they tried to kill him. I did like that one. I thought that one was all right.
Very well.
Yeah, I mean
I like
you don't have to like that one. That's fine. I
Goo
thought it
Man
was
and
okay.
Goo Man in the Woods is very funny.
Goo Man in the Woods is very good, and I see why they lead it, but then after that it is very very like sharp drop.
Oh yeah.
So we have like a wraparound of a video store, and
What's his
then
name? What's his name? Rad Chad.
Rad Chad, who is wearing a bolo tie, and the Rad Chad is in
He's
uh the font
the
of Last Drive-In Joe Bob stuff, and you go,
the poor man's Danny McBride. This
mm-hmm,
guy.
mm-hmm. So you get Rad Chad, and he's at a video store, and then you get like the first one, and it's aspirational plot device character. So it's like a guy who is like setting up horror movies. Like his job is to go set up these situations.
Do you remember his character's name?
I do not.
Michael Myers. But he
Sure,
goes by Mike Myers.
sure. I that's
yeah,
yeah. So he's the guy who sets up horror situations, but he doesn't really want to, kind of. And you watch it, and like he's like, I'm trying to help, but then he ends up killing people, and you go, all right. Anything you'd like to add about that one?
no.
Okay, cool. Next one we have the Goo Man, which is a very
Yeah, so,
good one.
so you're jumping the gun. You're jumping the
Well, they
gun.
showed the video store,
Well, it
and
opens
then
up.
they
It's,
jumped to
well,
the
it
Goo
opens up
Man.
with a story called. Well, no, it opens up with the cold open, which is about the Mike Myers character. We get to see him do some hijinks where he gets to reenact Scream
Well, oh,
and accidentally
I
kill.
said
This
that.
is how. But then he gets bridged over where we're introduced to Rad Chad
Yes.
at the video store.
Yeah.
When he's looking for an employee.
Mm-hmm. And
Uh,
he hires Han.
Han, here's Han, but there's another guy, the nerd guy,
Yeah. Who
who really
wants to
wants to
work
work
there?
there bad,
Yeah.
and he's gonna do everything he can to try to undermine Han so he
Mm-hmm.
can get that job.
Yes.
And then that's when you get the throw to a description of a movie. It's like something happened in the woods or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is where you get Goo Man times.
Yes. Which Goo Man times is good times. There's a lot of good stuff in here. I think my favorite was when he's like, "You guys have to kill me," and they start hitting him with the sticks, and he goes, "Sticks won't work, you fucks." And I was like, "That's very good." I said that.
I like well, there's the bit where it's these two couples have gone camping, and while they're camping, there's a discussion about is tonight going to be the night,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of talk. Well, I don't know if it is. I don't know if this is going to be the real thing, and she's talking about how she brought her own tent. But then, like the one woman's husband comes over, he's
Mm-hmm.
just like, "Oh, we were talking about fucking." I thought that was just like so funny because it's set in this like fake looking woods. Like it's
Yes.
this very idyllic looking set of a woods, and the all the humor of it is kind of like dumb but
Mm-hmm.
deadpan in this goofy kind of way. It'd be like a good Astron 6.
Yes. Yeah, that's how I would
But
describe it.
yeah, but then you get this man who comes running out of the woods, says you have to kill me, and
Yeah.
you're thinking, oh, this is like some sort of werewolf shit, and these
Oh
people
no.
all fail to kill him. Like he says, you have to kill me with silver. Only silver can stop it. And one guy, the handsome young guy,
Mm-hmm.
he pulls out a pair of handcuffs, and they're like, "Ooh, kinky!" And he handcuffs the guy, which stops him in mid transformation because I think he
Yeah.
was going to be a werewolf, but it stops
But
him
he's
mid transformation into a goo man.
Goo Man. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This is like a melt film,
Oh
and
yeah.
and then there's a bunch of jokes about like, oh, well, I mean, eventually they'll come back together.
Mm-hmm.
But then it turns out that the young guy he's the maniac in the woods, the backwoods killer, I think.
Well, they're
And
like,
he
"Why'd you
starts,
have those handcuffs?" And they're
yeah,
like, "Was that for me?" And he's like, "Yeah, but not for how you thought." And then he's like, "Hey."
puts a mask on,
Yeah.
and he starts killing everybody one by one, very violently,
Mm-hmm.
comically so.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually it all works out in the end
It all
with
comes back to the goo man.
people going face first into other men's crotches, hilarity.
Mm-hmm.
Got blood geysers, and then she gets bit by Goo Man, and she falls into the other half of the handcuffs,
Mm-hmm.
so she becomes half a goo.
Yeah,
That's it. That's it. Sometimes that's all you need.
and there's two half a goos, and that's just the way it is, I guess.
And then it's all downhill from here.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So that goo man is very very good. And then like between these shorts, you sometimes get you go back to the wraparound with the video store, and I can't remember at what point each of them happens, but it's like there's a secret room that they don't want Han to go to, and he's working hard, but the one guy's trying to sabotage him. Whatever, and it's just that until the end when the wraparound becomes its own story. But story 3 is Mr. Werewolf Man Cult. This was the first one that Joe Bob said, I don't get that. So it's like a guy who is at a bar and
What is it that he doesn't get?
well, it just finished. He's like, he says, I don't get that. And like, it's not that he doesn't understand it. I think what he's saying, I don't like this, is what he's saying. So it's like a guy at a bar
Well,
and he's like, man, my wife is really on me. And then he goes into the urinal and there's like a thing. And it's like, do you hate women? Is your wife giving you a hard time? Come to this man's group. And he does. And it's a bunch of dudes complaining about their wives. And then the guys are like, hey, you should come hang out with us later tonight. We got a better group going on. And he goes and they're all werewolves. And then he kills them all. And he collects their pelts. And then he goes home. And his wife's happy now. He's like, I did it. And it's a Satanist cult. And then it ends.
Yep. So this is written, directed, and starring Noah Segan.
Is that good?
Who, well, he's a good buddy of Ryan Johnson. He's also in Knives Out, Glass Onion, Star Wars Last Jedi, Looper, Brick, Brothers Bloom.
I see. I mean, yeah, I don't think this one. I see what they're trying to do, but it's like, it's not particularly interesting. Way.
No,
I didn't think.
and then it's like Satanist at the end. You
psycho
go
ending where you're just like, yeah, you're like, all right, whatever.
Okay.
So yeah, that one wasn't good. And then we have.
What about Mad Balls masks? Remember Mad Balls? Or are those too old for you?
I know the name, but I don't remember what that looks like. What's a Mad Balls mask?
Well, it's a Mad Balls.
Okay, yeah.
But it's like it looks like a Mad Ball, but it's like in mask form. Because this is, I think the next one's the one where it's like the one woman shoplifts.
Lollipop mask, yeah.
Yeah, and then they turn into.
So
like
it's
monster mutants, and then they kill a guy and they're happy.
Yeah.
It fucking sucks. It's like it's really absolutely bad. Like who okayed this? This is awful.
Yeah, that's called Girls Night Out, and like in the thing, it's like Girls Night Out postmodern body horror or something, and you're just like, all right. This is the other one Joe Bob went. I don't get that one either. Yeah, they shoplift a candy, they turn into monsters. Some guys are going to kill them, and they kill them instead, and then it's done, and that's it. And you're just like, all right,
my time, my precious time.
Yeah.
You know what's not great about this scare package? It's 106 minutes long.
With the Joe Bob is like 25 minutes extra.
Oof.
But I like watching Joe Bob, so.
No.
And then the next one's the Jason Killer one, which I thought I put pretty good. I didn't mind it. Yeah.
I don't know, any sort of like send up
meta Jason stuff
to like a I Know What You Did Last Summer type of thing.
Yeah,
it's got to be better than this.
I understand. Yeah. No, I could see why you wouldn't like it. I thought it was okay. This one, it's a Jason Killer. They catch him and they try to kill him over. And that's it.
Well, every time you think he's dead, they get lulled into a false sense of security, and then he kills one of them, even though he's just tied to a chair. Comedy ensues.
Yeah. So I didn't mind this one. The next one I think is the absolute worst one in this. Children of the Corn Undertakers. and it's like a guy becomes
Yeah.
possessed by a woman's brain, and it's a fight over the remote or something. This one was so bad,
Well, it's
so
the
bad.
woman gets possessed by a man's brain,
Yeah,
with the Omega symbol, because the man's got
yeah.
so much to do,
But
and
it's
there's a
like
lot of talk
corn
about
farmers.
spoilers. There's a lot of
Yeah,
talk about spoilers, and then there's a fight inside of her apartment, and then
it was so bad.
it's utterly pointless. And then it ends with like, oh, she's going to get or approached by the Undertaker men. Um,
Yeah, and this is one of the worst
w-
shorts I've ever seen, I think.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's like 20 minutes earlier
Since
when you
yeah,
watch the one with like the
the girls'
masks.
night, yeah. Yeah, it's very, very bad. And then was there another one, or does this go into the wraparound finish with Gold Dust?
Oh, when it just turns into Cabin in the
Cabin in the
Woods.
Woods? Yes, yes.
Well,
Was there one in between, or I don't think so, right? I think the next one is just a
Mister Girls Night Out, the night. Yeah, no, that's it.
yeah.
That's
So,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
so
8. Yeah, because
the
the
wraparound counts.
wraparound Rad Chad's Horror Emporium just turns into
Cabin in the Woods.
Horror Hypothesis.
Yeah. Which it's like it's fine and whatever, but it's nothing great. And did you know that Gold Dust was the killer?
I did not know
See,
that
that's a
Dusty
Joe Bob
Rhodes.
thing. They explained that it's Dusty Roads before you watch it, and I was like, oh, I was like Gold Dust, cool.
Huh.
I mean, how would you know? I suppose, but
Damn, well, not the best. Well, not the best use of Dustin Rhodes here.
no. And then there's another cameo in that, but that's okay.
You know.
Um, yeah, I
And
don't
this
know.
goes on forever, and you
Yeah,
just get like the shittiest lame jokes.
yeah,
My review just mentions that there's a bit where there's two characters who are talking about one guy summarizing Game of Thrones to another guy, and it's just like, what the fuck? HBO, bitch.
like
Yeah, because
10 years after.
a lot of people say the word bitch in this
Which word?
a lot. Bitch, RJ.
Wow,
Yeah, it comes up a lot.
interesting take. Okay.
Uh, but all I know is that the producer of this film is on Letterboxd, Aaron B. Coons, who wrote, I just hope it made some horror folks smile and
It
they had a
didn't.
fun and absurd escape. It's entirely why we made it, not to make money. Thanks for checking it out. Thanks, Aaron B. Coons.
It
It's
didn't
like,
make me smile. Goo Man is really cool. I'd like to see more from those people, but
mhm.
nothing else really.
uh,
More Goo Man.
Aaron B. Coons' favorite films. He follows nobody. So that's great.
Cool.
He doesn't log movies. He just logged his own. His favorite films include Magnolia, Jaws, Zodiac, and Drive.
Sure. Of course it is. Of course it
You'll
is.
just smile.
Of course. Yeah, Scare Package is not good. And like the thing with the Joe Bob drive-ins, like I'd say 9 out of 10 movies that like he actually has to do, and then 1 out of 10 is like contractual obligation to Shutter. Jared just sent me a picture of this man. He looks like a
Mhm.
happy man.
So happy.
He looks like he's having a good time. I think he's the star of Creep 3 is potentially what it is, but
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah, Scare Package is not good. Not good, not
No.
good.
Contrary to Corpse's 4 stars.
Well, I think Corpse probably really likes the Goo Man one because he mentioned he was like his review was that the good ones the few good ones far outweigh the bad ones. Corpse is a big Astron 6 guy, so I think he would be a very, very big Goo Man fan. And Goo Man is good. Goo Man's good.
Yeah.
Like a Goo Man.
Ooh,
But
man.
the rest of this movie,
No package.
no package. More like no package, am I right?
That's right.
So that's good. And we watched another one, but I don't know, maybe should we talk about it
We'll
next week? Should we talk about it now?
we'll
What do you
talk about it next time.
Yeah. The follow-up to one of the breakaway movies from Creeptober. Will it
One of
live
them.
up to it? Who's
Nope.
to say?
No. It won't.
Well, when the third movie in your franchise features 20 minutes movie, uh I don't know.
I mean, okay, you know what? We might as well just fucking talk about it. Let's talk about Hell House LLC 3 Lake of Fire.
Here's the thing: 20 minutes of this 80-minute movie are literal scenes from the first movie. This
Yeah,
is
there's a
like
lot
watching
of
Puppet Master
edit.
7 again.
Yeah, there's a
Like,
lot of flashbacks in this found footage film.
and like so and that's what, like, do you remember when I was doing all the Puppet Master ones and I was like, this we had 30 minutes of like recaps from other movies. That's what this felt like to me. So it's like a new billionaire has bought the house and he's setting up a new haunted house, but this one's gonna have a dramatic telling of Faust in the house. And this guy's eccentric. He's got a scar on his face. Is he a bad guy? We don't know. The clowns are back for 10 seconds, and you just see a ton of scenes from the first movie and a couple from the second. And then it's opening night again, and then it's just people talking about, did they know what was going to happen? They did. They know. They knew. They knew. And you're like, the first Hell House was such a surprise to me last year, where like I didn't love the ending to it because I thought that kind of like watered it down a little bit. But like the first hour of that first Hell House movie, I was like, man, I was like, this is what it's all about. This is what found footage stuff is.
Yep.
And I was like, fuck, it's good. And I see why this movie tries to like bring that back, but it's like, but they don't
Well,
get it.
it
Like,
does one bit, just like the first movie
very
does.
good.
And it's like actually really good.
Yeah.
There's like one bit in this you're like, fuck. If they keep doing this, it's gonna be awesome. But nope.
And then they never hit it again.
They waste your time with rich guy with bad scar on his face.
Yeah.
And you're like, where he says lines like, well, better enjoy this because tomorrow's hell.
Yeah.
And
There,
you go, and he looks at the camera.
and you go, huh?
Uh,
You know what's
white,
another?
white. And my favorite, there's like this cat. So I don't know, to lay this down for people who might not remember Hell House, watch the first one. It's if
It's
you like
good.
if you like
Yeah.
found footage stuff, watch it. It's actually not too bad. It's a
Yes.
very solid little entry in the found footage oeuvre in
Yes.
the late 2010s. It's pretty decent. But then they've made a mistake of now they're adding lore. Lore is always bad. People want to say they like lore, but it always dilutes everything else. All you can ever hope for in these lore editions is some actual good filmmaking, like some
Mm-hmm.
good bits that are maybe as good as the first one that inspired someone to want to revisit the lore. And
Mm-hmm.
the second one sucks. Like the second one was
Not
terrible.
good. Not good.
I can't even tell you why it was so bad. I think my
It's
review was mentioned. There's a lot of expositing from like the lead
the
ghoul.
yes.
And guess what, RJ?
He's
Lead
back.
ghoul is back.
He's not in
Lead
it as
ghouling.
much.
Yeah.
He speaking of ghouls, you know what I didn't like? I didn't like the ghouls were shown outside of the hotel. Like there's a scene where the
Well,
ghouls are like running around outside grabbing people, and I was like,
you're jumping the gun a little bit. You got to pace it, RJ.
I
We're not
know,
there yet.
I'm just saying, I didn't like
But
that.
what I didn't like was when the ghouls are killing all these people in a room, and this camera's just like spinning around in a circle. But for some reason, they're like, "Oh, we have to have some like digital interlacing issues." For some reason, all of a sudden, because they're like, "Oh, we can't show how bad this looks," because it probably looked extremely shitty. Because all it is guys in robes pretending to kill people in the corners, and people are pretending to be scared because
Mm-hmm.
they're being attacked by demons from hell. Like literal demons are
Mm-hmm.
pouring out from a hole in the basement. They're
Mm-hmm.
just running out, and you're like, "Holy fuck, that should be amazing!" And it's like,
Well,
oh, it's just like guys in dark robes with a little bit of like Star Trek makeup on their heads, and they're just running around and they're like, "Wah," and they're like stabbing people. That's it. That's all they do. That's the cunning plan of hell is to open up the gates and just come like streaming into our world and start stabbing people and go, got him. So, and I'm not sure exactly what our millionaire eccentric's plan was, other than we
well,
must open the gate. And there's going to be all these like
but
hilarious
it's
bits where, hey, there's like old footage that when you go back through it, he was there all along. And
yes, yeah,
so, and there's the one who's wearing the hat,
yeah.
looking all sad at the booth.
It's the Insidious 2 thing where it's just
Yeah,
like, it's
there you
like
go.
they were here the whole time.
Lore. lore.
Yeah.
And then of course there's like, and then there's the one character, look at all her social media where she posted these
Yes.
pictures and not noticing, hey, there's actors from the previous installments just standing in the background.
One of those posts, it's like one of them is like it's a thing in the background. You're like, okay, there's something there, and then one of them, it's like the guy is in the frame, and he's like, hey, and it's
There's
just
just a
like
man there.
nobody noticed before, and you're like,
And
what?
then, and in case you missed it, they have like a photo of the person show up at the same
Like,
time
yes,
because
they're like, did you
because
see?
nobody watching this recognizes anybody from those first two movies.
Yeah,
I would never be able to like, oh hey, yeah, it's Mike from
Hell House
part
LLC.
two. No one remembers any of the actors. They're the most like they're not memorable humans.
No, but
They're
that's what
just
makes that movie good.
yeah, that's fine of it. It's
John
not
Everyman.
yeah, it doesn't matter who these people are. It's
No,
actually tells you how well made everything else was. That like you don't need these actors to
but you
do anything other
don't.
than
Yeah.
Josh.
Oh yeah. But
So
hey, just like in the Faust play, for every demon, there's an angel.
wow, and then you get to the ending.
Catholic horror.
The ending, RJ.
I
It's
don't. Should we even say it? Like it's not good. Like
well, I'm gonna say it because no one should watch the third one.
yeah,
But
third
we're
one's
gonna. But you know
bad.
what? RJ and I will be watching the fourth one this month when it comes
Oh,
out.
you better believe I'm watching the fourth one. But yeah, the
But
third one's bad.
yeah, it's yeah, not good. Other than the one like sequence of the
It's
girl going through the
a
house,
minute
being like,
long. Yeah,
ah,
minute
it's like
long thing of her in
at
the
least
basement.
well, her like going through the house and they're like doing all these like again stupid digital artificing of like, oh, here's some like tape like being inserted in. You're
Hmm.
like, who's doing that? Is it the ghosts?
I
It's like, or
guess I believe
do
so.
do the ghosts have I don't know Premiere? And they're
Uh,
just like, work. Do they
it's
have,
Adobe.
are they up to, yeah? That's what I mean. Are they up to date on Creative Cloud,
Yep,
paying like $180 a month
of
to make
course.
spooky videos, or do they get it for free? Are they bootlegging? So anyway, she's wandering around, and then you get to the basement, and you get some clowns, and the clowns are fucking
You get the
horrifying.
lead clown, which is
The
always the best one.
always the best boy.
Yeah.
So anyway, that part's great, and everything else is just like whatever, and it's so drawn out. Um, yeah, there's a whole bit where like the millionaire guy sits down at the bar like a common man,
For
and he's like ordering
3
food.
minutes.
And he's like upset that like the kitchen's closed already, so he'll just have like some dinner rolls
Yeah.
and some red wine. And then you notice like everybody else is just eating dinner rolls.
Well, they all take. He orders the dinner rolls and they all take it. And he's, so did you guys not eat? He doesn't drink any of the red wine. He just pays, gets up, and leaves. And then he says
He
whispers something to
whispers,
the girl that you find out later.
"Oh, my money! I want to give all my money away because I'm like Bruce Wayne."
I'm an angel. I'm like Michael. I'm like the John Travolta movie, Michael.
He was sent back.
Yeah.
No. And then you get to the end of the movie
Hmm.
where all of a sudden we're like in digital heaven
Yes.
and it's all the characters from the first movie who died,
Yes.
but now they're in purgatory or something
In the house, in the
in the
Abaddon
house,
Hotel.
but with Buddy with their angel. And
Hmm.
he's like, "We're here now. There's nothing that can be done." And it's just like,
Well,
oh,
he seals up the lake of fires.
that's right.
So he was an angel the whole time, sealing up the Satanist thing, but he had to let the Satanists out to seal it up the doorway or something like that.
Or something. Or was he an angel?
I who the fuck knows? This movie's not good.
It's ass.
It's ass house. That's what I would
Yeah.
call it. But it's the first movie
Lore.
is good.
Hell
Hole.
hellhole. Whole house.
Hellhole would be a better movie though. Do you know what I mean? Or Whole House. That would be a better movie too.
Whole house.
His
That's
hole.
my hey, that's my movie.
I know it is. Yeah, it stinks. It stinks.
Like a hole.
Like a hole. First movie is great though. First hour
Yeah.
of it's incredible. Everyone should watch that.
It's scary.
It is. It's genuinely
It's
scary.
yeah, it's actually spooky, and that's
Yeah.
why.
Watch it alone in the basement. The last 10 minutes you're gonna go, yeah. But everything before that is really good.
Yeah. The way it always is. Some of this crap.
Yeah.
Hey RJ, what you got any news for us?
I just saw that. Did you see that the new Exorcist movie came out from your friend David Gordon Green, the man who brought
No,
us the revitalization of the Halloween franchise?
I had no idea.
Did you see? Well, I can tell you. So he's doing. It's a planned trilogy of Exorcist movies from Blumhouse.
Oh,
And I don't know if you remember, but a couple weeks ago, it was brought up on the pod. Someone said, "What do you think about those?" And I said, "Well, I've seen his Halloween movie, or what? I saw his one Halloween movie, the first one, and I said, I don't want to see this guy touch any other horror franchise again. But he's doing a trilogy of Exorcist movies. I saw that the new one just now got a 24% on Rotten Tomatoes. So
well, I mean, is this a remake or a sequel?
sequel to the original.
Ugh.
Kind of like how Halloween, his new one, was a sequel
Okay,
to
that's
the
what I was wondering
original.
because I mean, you can't mess with the original.
No,
I mean, I think that movie
and they
actually
know
is
that,
perfect. I
but
think it's actually perfect.
yes, it is.
So
But
I mean, okay, step one there, but we're planning a trilogy. We don't even know if anyone's going to see the first one. I mean, they will because people go see horror movies in
and it's
Halloween. But
October, yeah, like.
yeah,
But
apparently I've heard good things about the new Saw.
I mean, I would like to watch all the Saws when I was talking to a friend of the show Ryan. Maybe next year or something. I might just do all the franchises I haven't seen. Like I've seen Saw 1. I could watch all 10 Saws next year or something, you know what I mean?
Like there's more Saws than that. Hey, are
Oh
all the
shit.
Saws on streaming now, or are they?
I saw I saw a bunch of them just got added to Netflix or Prime. Like not
Uh,
all of them, but like at least 6 of them.
well, I just noticed Saw 2's on nothing
Great.
except
Cool.
for like Apple TV for $4.
No, I'm
That
not fucking getting Apple
that
TV.
doesn't make any. That's so weird. I swear I thought that they were all uploaded too. Maybe Just Watch is lying to me.
Well, no, I saw that like at least 6 or 7 of them were on Netflix or Prime, but maybe it's like 1, 3, 4, 7, 8, 10 or something. I don't know. They probably left out 1 or 2 just to fuck with you. But one year maybe I'll do all the Saws and Paranormal Activities and all that. Critters. I know you're a big Critters guy. Critters.
Critters.
Yeah. So anyways, are you going to go see Exorcist, the new one, soon?
Fuck no.
Are you going to watch all those Halloweens?
That there's a better chance of that happening than me watching the new Exorcist.
I'd sure like to see what you think of that new Halloween. I know what I
Well,
think of that movie.
well, if anybody wants to find out, they can order me the Blu-ray so I can watch the first movie, and I'll let the world know.
We know how this works. Lawrence, don't spend any more of your money. You don't just like in Batman, you don't owe us anything, okay? You don't owe these people anything. Stop buying us stuff. Don't do it, Lawrence. That movie's
Yeah,
not worth whatever the price tag is.
gotta let other people
Even if that movie's
take
$2,
on that
that's
burden.
$2 more than you should
Oh no,
fucking
it's
spend
like
on it.
it's like
I know it's
$32
probably like $30.
That's all three in crystal
That's too
clear
much.
high definition.
That's too much. That first movie really bad. I wouldn't pay to see that fucking thing again.